I'm actually standing inside the village church of Walberswick in Suffolk. This magnificent building was constructed in 1492, the same year that Columbus had discovered America. By the year 1696, the church had become somewhat surplus to requirements. The population here was dwindling and the congregation was obviously similarly affected. And so the church wardens applied for permission to demolish part of the church to reconstruct a smaller chapel within. The church authorities granted this permission on one condition, that the church tower remain. The reason being that the tower was used as a navigation feature for shipping using the port of Walberswick, which thrived until the First World War. But my visit here is not directly connected to the actual church, but rather to a very famous visitor who came here one balmy evening in 1931 and had his first paranormal experience. This man's name was Eric Arthur Blair, or perhaps more familiar to you as the author George Orwell, who wrote two major works that you may recall, being 1984 and Animal Farm. At the time in 1931, he was actually researching for another book, I believe entitled The Clergyman's Daughter. And he came here to take some notes, and he sat amongst the ruins of the church, and that is where he saw his first ghost. And what I'm going to do is refer back to his original notes in a letter he wrote to a friend in 1931, which was accompanied with a diagram showing where he was positioned and upon what direction he actually witnessed this apparition.
At about 5:20 p.m. on the 27th of July 1931, I was sitting at the spot marked with an asterisk, looking in the direction of the dotted arrow, and happened to glance over my shoulder and saw a figure pass along the line of the other arrow, disappearing behind the masonry and presumably emerging into the churchyard. I wasn't looking directly at it, and so I couldn't make out more than that it was a man's figure, small and stooping and dressed in lightish brown. I should have said a workman. I had the impression that it glanced towards me in passing, but I made nothing of its features. At the moment of its passing I thought nothing, but a few seconds later it struck me that the figure had made no noise, and so I followed it into the churchyard. There was no one in the churchyard, and no one within possible distance along the road. This was about 20 seconds after I had seen it, and in any case there were only two people in the road, and neither at all resembled the figure. I looked into the church. The only people there were the vicar, dressed in black, and a workman who, as far as I can remember, had been sawing the whole time. In any case, he was too tall for the figure. The figure had therefore vanished, and presumably an hallucination.
That was certainly a very interesting story regarding Orwell. But what we're going to do tonight, that's Tim and myself, we're going to return here during the hours of darkness and carry out our own investigation of the ruins outside. We won't be allowed inside the church as it will be locked, but we'll certainly be able, at the very least, to try and touch base with spiritual activity there. Now, I'm standing inside the church as it stands at the moment. I'm not actually feeling anything at all. It has a wonderful ambience. It's a very light and airy church, and it has a very warm feeling when you wander inside. Now, what the grounds will be like tonight, after the hours of darkness, anyone can guess, but we're hoping it's going to be something significant which we can share with you. And this particular ghost has been described by many witnesses to it as being that of a gentleman. But Orwell was impressioned with somebody who appeared to him as a workman. I think there is so much compelling evidence there between the two events. For example, between the two events, for example. Okay, we're back at the church in Walberswick. It's just turned dark. We're going to spend maybe 15, maybe half an hour wandering around the churchyard amongst the ruins here, hopefully trying to connect with this small stooped man, or perhaps some other type of spiritual anomaly. And with me on the other camera, of course, is Tim. So we'll crack on with this investigation. Let's have a wander down there, Tim. Okay, this is the ruined section of the church, as you can see here. This was the archway that all those years ago in 1931 that the author George Orwell had seen the small stooped man pass through. It seems kind of surreal wandering around inside a purposely ruined church. It seems bizarre. This staircase to nowhere gives me the creeps. It just feels kind of negative over here where I'm standing. We shared this image with you earlier today. You can see it runs absolutely nowhere. Let's go through this archway. This at the back of the church takes us into the existing churchyard. And there are a lot of people buried here. Okay, I'm wandering around the rear curtilage walls of the old church. We're on the outside, looking in from the churchyard. All I can say at the moment is very cold. Certainly a bit spooky. Okay, we're going through this archway, medieval archway. And now we're back inside the church. Difficult to try and see inside. I don't know what it is, that staircase over in the corner, but it really gives me the creeps. As you can see, it doesn't go anywhere anymore. It would have originally led either to a smaller tower or an overcroft above the existing church. Right, I'm walking back down towards the chancel. Tim's still where I left him earlier. How you getting on, Tim? Anything?
Not sure, I thought I saw two little lights a minute ago, but whether it was a reflection of... I mean, I was pointing straight ahead and you were coming that way, so I can't see why it would be.
I walked past that, that corner with the staircase that leads nowhere. Yeah. And that really gave me the creeps. It's really giving out a real negative buzz.
Go here, but I just sort of... It looked like what was two little lights, but whether it was or not, it might have been to do with you walking towards us, I don't know, but...
Yeah, you never know, do you? That's the problem. Across the road is the houses. Okay, I'm outside at the front end of the church. Wandering around the side at the front. Can't really go too far here because it's partitioned off with wire because of the danger of falling masonry. It don't come much spookier than that, does it? Tim.
Yes, Chris. Hello.
How's it been for you tonight?
Chilly? No, seriously, it's been a very interesting place to come to. I've sensed a few things and thought I've seen some shadows and things, but it's a very difficult place to ascertain what those might be.
Yeah, I'm afraid it's all down to whatever I can pick up on the review.
Yeah.
And when I go through the cameras, you never know.
It could be interesting. Certainly a great place.
Anyway, thank you for joining us. It's time for us to leave and get back to Essex. We've got quite a long drive ahead of us, so I hope it's been a really worthwhile investigation. Thank you.